What kind of house can survive a place where the air itself is trying to erase heat from existence? At negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, the Arctic is no longer just cold. It becomes an active force. Heat doesn't fade slowly here. It is taken, stripped, stolen in seconds through a process most people never think about: forced convection. When 40-50 miles per hour, winds sweep across an open tundra with nothing to slow them. They don't just pass over surfaces. They peel away the thin molecular layer of warmth that clings to anything exposed. Skin freezes in minutes. Breath crystallizes mid-air. Even materials begin to behave differently, becoming brittle, rigid, unforgiving. But here's the deeper problem. This environment is not just cold, it is an infinite heat sink. Any warmth introduced into the system is immediately absorbed and dispersed into the vast, energy-hungry void of the Arctic atmosphere. So the real question isn't how to stay warm. It's how to stop losing heat at all. In most human history, survival begins with fire. Fire provides heat, light, protection, a controllable energy source. But in the high Arctic, fire alone is not a solution. There is no wood, no forests, no timber for beams, no fuel for sustained combustion. Even if a flame is created using animal fat or oil, it produces only a small, localized heat source. Against the scale of Arctic heat loss, it's almost meaningless unless something else changes. This is where traditional architecture fails completely. A house built on the surface with thin walls and exposed angles becomes a liability. It leaks heat from every seam. The wind creates pressure differences that literally pull warmth out through microscopic gaps. In this environment, a house cannot simply contain heat. It must trap it, store it, and protect it from being taken. The solution didn't come from building better walls. It came from changing where the house exists. Instead of fighting the Arctic from above, ancient Arctic engineers, particularly the Thule people, made a radical decision. They moved their homes into the earth itself. By sinking structures approximately 3 feet below ground level, they exited the most dangerous layer of the environment, the chaotic, wind-dominated air, and entered something far more stable. Below the surface, the world behaves differently. The wind disappears. Temperature fluctuations slow dramatically. Energy loss becomes predictable. This wasn't just shelter. It was a shift from weather to geology. It sounds counterintuitive, but beneath the Arctic surface lies one of the most valuable resources available: thermal stability. The permafrost soil, frozen for thousands of years, maintains a relatively constant temperature, hovering near 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius below the active surface layer. While the air above may plunge to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit or even lower overnight, the ground resists that change. It holds its temperature due to its immense mass. This makes it something extraordinary: a thermal battery. By embedding a structure into this mass, the interior space begins to equalize not with the deadly air outside, but with the far less hostile temperature of the Earth itself. Even without a strong heat source, the interior can remain near or above freezing, and with minimal additional heat, it can rise dramatically. Suddenly, survival is no longer about fighting the cold. It's about working with the planet's stored energy. Wind is not just uncomfortable in the Arctic, it is destructive. When high-speed air hits a structure, it creates pressure zones: high pressure on the windward side, low pressure on the opposite side. This difference generates suction, pulling warm air out through even the smallest cracks. A traditional structure becomes a leaking system under constant attack. The Thule solution was elegant. Don't resist. The wind disappear from it. By lowering the structure into the ground and shaping the roof into a dome, airflow is redirected smoothly over the surface. There are no sharp edges to catch the wind, no vertical walls to absorb force. The result? Reduced exposure by up to 85%. Minimal turbulence. Near elimination of pressure-driven heat loss. The house stops being an object in the environment. It becomes part of the landscape. But sinking into the ground solved only part of the problem. There was still the question of structure. Without timber, how do you create a roof strong enough to hold snow, resist collapse, and span a living space? The answer came from the sea. A single bowhead whale provides tens of tons of usable material. Its bones, especially the massive curved jaw bones, offered something incredibly rare in the Arctic: natural structural geometry. These mandibles, often over 15 feet long, were used as primary support beams. When arranged in a circular or conical pattern, they formed a dome, one of the strongest shapes in structural engineering. Unlike flat beams, which experience bending stress, arches convert force into compression, distributing weight evenly. The whale's skeleton became a load-bearing framework, capable of supporting heavy snow loads and resisting deformation. The ocean had become architecture. Structure alone does not retain heat. What transforms the dwelling into a thermal system is its outer layer. Over the bone frame, thick animal hides were stretched to create a windproof membrane. On top of that, a dense layer of tundra sod, often up to 3 feet thick, was applied. This sod was not just dirt. It was a living, fibrous matrix of moss, roots, and organic material. Installed with roots facing inward, something remarkable happened over time. The plants remained alive. They continued to grow, intertwining and reinforcing the structure. The house developed a self-sealing skin, a biological barrier that repaired small cracks and resisted wind infiltration. It was no longer a static shelter. It became a living system. Inside this insulated, earth-embedded structure, even a small heat source became powerful. A single oil lamp burning seal or whale fat could raise interior temperatures dramatically. Why? Because the system no longer loses heat rapidly. The thick sod provides insulation. The earth provides thermal mass. The dome shape reduces airflow disturbance. This creates a controlled environment where heat accumulates instead of escaping. The result is astonishing. A temperature difference of over 100 degrees Fahrenheit between inside and outside. Not through energy production, but through energy retention. But this near-perfect system introduced a new danger. By sealing the structure so effectively, airflow was reduced to almost nothing. And without ventilation, something deadly begins to build. Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, moisture. The same system that preserves heat can suffocate its inhabitants. So the challenge evolves again. Now it's no longer about solids, walls, roofs, insulation. It becomes about fluids. Air must move slowly, precisely, without releasing heat. Ventilation shafts, entrance tunnels, and subtle airflow channels were introduced to regulate this balance. Too much airflow, and heat is lost. Too little, and life becomes impossible. This is where survival becomes engineering at its most delicate. In the end, what emerges is something far beyond a shelter. It is a closed-loop thermal system. The Earth stabilizes temperature. The structure minimizes exposure. The insulation traps heat. The shape redirects wind. The airflow sustains life. No fossil fuels. No external power. No excess materials. Just geometry, mass, and understanding. In a place where survival seems impossible, this system doesn't fight the environment. It aligns with it. There's a quiet truth hidden in all of this. The most advanced technology is not always the one that consumes the most energy, but the one that understands exactly how little it needs. These structures weren't built to conquer the Arctic. They were built to belong to it. And maybe that's the lesson we've forgotten. Not how to dominate the world around us, but how to read it, adapt to it, and survive within its rules. If this kind of forgotten engineering speaks to you, the kind shaped by necessity, not excess, then you're already walking the path we explore here. Shadows of Valhalla isn't just about the past. It's about rediscovering the intelligence hidden inside it.